Interesting happenings in the world of recruiting. It's always interesting in the world of recruiting, especially for the Clemson Tigers. We are going to discuss it. Again, I'm your host and producer, Morgan Thomas. Joining me is Mr. Houston Burnett. Again, we're back. We're trying to get you out some more videos, and just so happens to be there is kind of an interesting topic of discussion when it comes to recruiting right now. Former Clemson commit, I say former because he decommitted on October 3rd, Zechariah Owens, offensive tackle for the 2023 class from McDonough, Georgia. He decommitted from Clemson, and the story was that he had some family reasons and maybe some other reasons where he wanted to explore some other schools. Well, now you know that if you explore other schools or go to visit other schools, you cannot be committed to Clemson. That's one of the rules that's out there. So it just so happens that he went to the coaching staff. He said, "Hey, I want to do these things," and he ended up visiting Florida State on the week that Clemson would be there. Now that was a head scratcher in its own right there. Why would you be committed to Clemson, then also all of a sudden decommit to go watch Florida State, who we all assumed would lose to Clemson? So you're going to see the team that you could be going to get beat by the team that you just left. I know it's crazy, but we'll get into the entire story. But just on the surface, when he initially decommitted Houston and the fact that he wanted to visit Florida State, what were your thoughts?
I mean, it's kind of the same thing. Like, let him. Sometimes it doesn't work out. Sometimes it does. But most of the time, if a kid's not set on coming to Clemson and they want to visit somewhere else, I'm like, whatever. I don't really lose sleep about decommits or anything. Even amongst all the ones that decommitted last year, I wasn't really that worried about it. I feel like, if a kid wants to explore their options, let them do it and let them see what they're missing.
I think that's the big thing, is that nobody really says they shouldn't explore their options. I think Clemson says if you're going to commit, then that's where the differentiator is. For Clemson, yeah. For other schools, it's not really a big deal. You can be committed and go visit as many times as you want, get your 5 out of the way, come back to the school you love. Clemson is like, we really want to focus on the commitment part of it, and that you are committed and that we are holding a spot for you. And so he came in March. He really loved Thomas Austin. He loved the environment. He felt like it had everything they need. He said, quote, "They check every box." And then in June, he came and he was a part of that big giant class that came in the summer and had a really great recruiting event there, and then had a bunch of commits in June and July. Like, you remember Houston, it was like 1 and 2 every single week were committing to Clemson. And he was one of those guys who committed to Clemson after his June 3rd visit. Again, this guy is a guy you want on your team, 4-star guy, 16th, 18th best offensive tackle in the nation right now, 6'5.5", 365 pounds, just a massive man, and hopefully going to get bigger and badder. Maybe not so much bigger. He doesn't need to get bigger, but badder and more skilled as he goes on. Maybe he even needs to lose some weight. I mean, if you really think about it. But definitely a guy who could be a contributor to a team, a Power 5 team. A lot of other teams have been wanting him, have offered him. He has 24 total offers. But then it's interesting what happened after that. So he went to Florida State. From what we know, he was part of the visit there and sat in the recruiting section. And from what we understand, didn't really have a good time and has decided that he wants to stick with his heart. He did what his family wanted him to do, which was visit other places, which, again, I wouldn't necessarily say is bad advice. I'm sure Clemson says this all the time: get your visits out of the way and then commit. So I don't think it's necessarily bad advice to go ahead and do that. But now he says, hey, I had that. And now I want to talk to the coach and try to get back, and I want to become a commit again. Now, this is per recruiting sources that are out there. People have said this on Twitter. This is not something that we got firsthand, but we're repeating what we've heard on social media. So What's your thoughts on that, Houston, with the fact that now he's had at least one extra visit other than Clemson, and he's like, you know what, this isn't really all it's cracked up to be?
Well, it's just it's recruiting. College football recruiting always has just some oddball storylines that pop up that will get picked up at the end of the year when you're like, you remember when this or that happened. The negative side of this is we don't know if he'll be in the class or not. Once somebody decommits from Clemson, that kind of gives them the go ahead to say, all right, well, look, if you're going to go look somewhere else, we're going to find some, like, your spot's not reserved. And so there's a couple people that they've been reaching out to. Now, I don't know how the numbers will shake up or kind of what goes where as far as how many they want to take. I know that number fluctuates from 3 to 4. So it's still potentially out there, but they've already offered a couple guys. And some of them are lined up on visits. And so it's going to depend on how the numbers shake out and who they go after. And I feel like for somebody like Zechariah Owens, he'll probably have a shot if they take somebody extra potentially. But he's really going to have to show it. He might have to wait, and he might have to wait until the first or second signing day. We don't know.
When you look at the offensive tackle offers that are out there currently on 24/7 Sports for Clemson, you've got Zechariah Owens, 4-star guy. Many of them have already committed to other places. Ian Reed, Stanton Ramel, Sullivan Absher, Alus Linen, I don't know if I said that right, Monroe Freeling, Luke Montgomery. And then you have two guys that were recently offered. DJ Chester, also from Eagles Landing Christian Academy, the same exact school that he's from. And then Spencer Fano, the guy that they just offered from Tip View out of Provo, Utah. So both of those guys are 6'5". Chester is 300 pounds. Fano is 270. Currently, they have Ian Reed as an offensive tackle commit. It seemed like that they were going to go for 3, maybe 4, as you mentioned. When you look at the offensive line recruits they have Harris Sewell, and so that gives them 2. And I feel like there's another one. Am I missing another one?
No, it was just those 3 at the time.
They have the 3 for whatever reason. I thought they had. No, they've always had 3. Yeah. So right now they have 2. The question is, do they really need 4? And are they going to get 4? And then if they don't, if they really need 3, then you already have 2. So there's only 1 spot available, and you've offered other guys since he's decommitted. So that's the concern there. Some people said on Twitter, what is Clemson going to do? What would you do? Well, it's hard for me to say what I would do because I don't know Dabo Swinney that well. I don't know, Owens that well. I don't know the situation. I think you place each situation uniquely because it's a person's, college choice and life choice, right? But there's also that thing that you mentioned, Houston, where it's like, they kind of, if they're going to stick to the offer is a committable offer, and that's the rule, then it kind of sets up to where Owens now is going to have to wait for other players' decisions, maybe even as late as December. Or
as late as February. Who knows?
Even February.
Yeah, so you don't know. Could be nothing. Could be Fano goes. I know that there's other West Coast schools that are pursuing him, and so maybe he ends up going to an Oregon or a Utah or BYU or whatever, and that ends up just falling into place for him to come back. But
right.
It could be that the Fano wants to come, he commits, and then late in the game they're like, all right, we want to offer an extra offensive lineman, and then we want to bring in another offensive lineman, and
right.
That's what ends up.
I think you're in the point now where it's not so much needing to offer one because you have 3 tackle offers out there. It's now to the point where you, like you said, it's which one do you want to bring in? Who's first in line? Would it be Chester? I'm assuming Chester would be first in line, and then Fano would be second in line. Maybe Chester is cool on Clemson and wasn't coming, so maybe Fano is first in line. But either way, it kind of seems like Owens is now not first in line, and there's going to be some time to rekindle that trust between the two parties, right? Again, I don't think it was necessarily a bad decision from the family's point of view, from the player's point of view, even from Clemson's point of view. He may even want to go out and take another official visit somewhere. I mean, to be honest with you, if he's got to wait, like you mentioned, till February or December, might as well get another official visit out of the way, enjoy the process. I know a lot of people say that. You only get to be a recruit once, right? Because then once you make your decision, then, well, I guess nowadays you don't get to be a recruit once because you can get in the transfer portal and get recruited, right?
Yeah, I mean, I guess my thing is, really, if you're into going to Clemson, if this whole thing is, I didn't want to go to Florida State, I had been pressured into it by outside forces to do this, what message does it send if you go on another visit somewhere else?
That's true. I guess, I'm thinking of it from a point of you have 5 total, right? And you have 3 more open that you could take. But to your point of view, maybe there is that, maybe that is an extra step he can take to not take other visits, to say, hey, I'm really committed. I'm going to wait till December now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd imagine that there's going to be some give and take here. He decommitted. But if he truly does want to come back, I'd imagine that his entry back into this class is gonna, there's gonna be a pittance. The price of that, what you're gonna put up for that is he's probably gonna have to show that he really wants to go to Clemson, and that probably starts with I know you got 3 visits, but you need to put those in your back pocket and keep them there.
Yeah, who knows how it will shape out. I mean, again, it's something that is between Dabo and the player, and wherever he ends up going, I hope that he has success. Obviously, we would love to see him at Clemson, but we know there's different circumstances that go through. And again, I want to make sure it's a point on our show. We're really not knocking him for doing anything. I mean, he has to follow his heart. He has to make a decision that is best for him. And if it ended up being a mistake, it happens. Like, literally, I make a mistake, make probably 10 mistakes every single day. So I really don't blame him for making a decision and going with it. Depending on how it works out, we'll see, right? Let us know what you think in the comments. How do you feel about the whole situation? It's one that Clemson hadn't been involved with much. And so avoiding the confusion or drama out there in the recruiting world has been, in favor of Clemson for now. But let us know what you think in the comments. Would you take Owens back or not? Do you think that there needs to be some sort of hold on to the visits? Let us know what you think. And don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the YouTube channel.